With the trade period now closed, the draft order has sort of finalised itself a little bit more. Sort of, but not really, because obviously picks can still be traded, even on draft night as well, as we all know. But I thought today I would run my mini mock draft just for the first 8 picks in particular, because I think they're the most relevant to us. But before we get stuck into it, we are 140 subscribers away on YouTube from hitting 4,000. Let's try and hit it by draft night. If you're watching this video right now and you haven't yet hit subscribe, do it, please. It means the world to us. It adds so much help and support and helps boost the channel and get it out there to everybody in the world. So we appreciate all the love and support. But with that said, let's get stuck into the draft stuff. Now, like we said, the draft order has been almost semi-finalised, and it's quite amazing, isn't it, that the first 8 picks are held by 4 teams. I don't think there's been a year that's happened, far less a year where they've all gone in pairs, like almost like Noah's Ark. I think I saw someone reference it as, where you got West Coast with 2, Richmond with 2, Essendon with 2, and then Melbourne with 2 that they received from the Gold Coast. It's quite extraordinary. And it's going to make for a very fascinating draft night because so many things can still unfold. Obviously, we saw Blair Hartley, and I saw Matt Clark's interview as well on the back of Trade Week with Cal Toomey and Riley Beveridge. And I don't know, after those interviews, I probably come away from that not as expecting to see a split trade than maybe what I first thought. It's almost like West Coast are just offering up the words as a just cause because they don't want to shut it out completely, but they seem very reluctant at the prospect of trading any of their picks. But I suppose that's to help drive the price up as well. We all know those picks are valuable, but they want to make them seem even more valuable, which I get. And I suppose similar, Blair Hartley was very, very content with us walking in with picks 3 and 4, and straight out said that it would have to be a pretty substantial offer for us to turn our heads to consider it. And he did say he received a lot of phone calls with zero substance. So that gives you a bit of an indication of maybe what some of the offers were looking like during trade week. But, Blair's very crafty with what he does. And like we saw last year and heard about last year, that he didn't really take many phone calls before draft night because he wanted to sort of keep people hanging. And it sort of created a bit of desperation, which North Melbourne ended up falling for, funnily enough. And I think the same thing will happen again this year. Whether or not a deal goes through is a different matter. But with the new order we've got now, I see Melbourne as the most likely to come after either pick 3 or 4 from us. And I say that because they were one of the ones who were really early, heavily linked to Sullivan Roby, who now is touted to be top 3. And West Coast have even apparently had some really keen interest recently as well. So there seems to be a little bit of fear creeping in amongst, I guess, Richmond supporters that West Coast might be in a position to consider taking him. Although it still feels like, again, it could be a scare tactic from them. It still feels like Dersma and CDT are as close to locks as they can be based on what everyone sees and hears from experts and even what fans from the respective clubs think as well. But the Ds could be the ones looking to climb up, and again, they probably have the collateral now to do it after that Petrarca trade, and I don't know whether it means we'd be asking for both of the first this year to climb up to pick number 3 or 4, or whether it's one from this year, one from next year. I think realistically, if we were to split, we would want something for 2026. I think that is our end game because we've got some father-sons next year. We've got Tanner Armstrong next year. And, we're probably going to finish bottom 4. So to get another first-round pick in is going to be a good head start to be able to do what we need to do. So I would assume that any deal with us hinges on a future coming into play. But we'll have to see how it pans out, And like I've said plenty of times on record, that I am very, very glad that Blair Hartley is the one at the helm for this. He is one hell of a poker player. And if we do a deal on draft night, you can be rest assured we have fleeced someone to do it. And they've been desperate to get up for whatever reason, and we've cashed in. So, and that's the beauty of it being an even draft, is you can probably take that punt. But with that being said, I'll bring up my mini mock draft for the first 8 picks because I think they're probably the most relevant for what we're looking at on draft night. So this is as of the 17th of October, which is today. So I've got 1 and 2, obviously West Coast. I've still got Will Dersma and Cooper Duff Tytler, and as I mentioned before, it just seems, you want to say universally locked in, but things can change, I know, but from everyone and everything you read, they are the ones that are up there. Now, look, I know Dyson Sharp's been a consideration as well up there for West Coast too. I just think after the combine stuff in particular, the Duff Tyler really sort of solidified himself in that top 2 pick. And I think West Coast supporters have really jumped on board from not that it matters what the supporters think, I know, but they've really bought into, I suppose, the hype and what he can bring to their side as well. So it seems like it could be a nice fit for them. Before I read out our picks, I do want to throw out there that I have heard from multiple people within that drafting, recruiting industry that we still do have and have been showing the strongest interest in Sullivan Roby, Sam Cumming, Xavier Taylor, and Sam Grill. They seem to be the 4 main names that we are strongly linked to from a lot of people from deep within those circles. What I am mindful of, though, is last year you'll all remember that we were also very strongly linked to Bo Allen from Perth, to the point where everyone, AFL-wide, Cal Toomey, the works, were completely sold on us taking Bo Allen, and it was just a smokescreen from the club to, I think it was to get Taj Houghton in the end, it might have been. So I'm mindful of that, and I think we are doing something similar again, and I think the player that we're maybe smokescreening a little bit with is Xavier Taylor, because from what I understand, Essendon have put in a lot of work into Xavier Taylor, maybe the most of all clubs from what I hear. And I know that we've been linked to Xavier Taylor quite a bit. Even Cal Toomey has said multiple times that he feels very strongly about us being linked to Xavier Taylor. And whilst I wouldn't be mad if we got Xavier Taylor, don't get me wrong, I do get those Bo Allen vibes that maybe we're trying to cause a bit of disruption in Essendon's method and their thinking. Maybe they try and trade up and we can get something good out of them as well. I don't know, but I just thought I would throw that out there before I got to our 2 picks. But for our picks 3 and 4, at the moment, as of today, and it will probably change again by draft night, like a lot of these do, just because, I don't know, you just have a different vibe on a different day. It's just how it works. But I've got us going with Sullivan Roby at 3 and Sam Cumming at 4. It doesn't matter which way you do that. I just think they would be rounding out the midfield fairly nicely. And I'm more thinking about in that 3 to 4 to 5 year time slot, you need to have a midfield with some serious depth. If you look at Gold Coast, if you look at Brisbane, and you see how deep their midfield bats, that's what you need to get to. So the vision, I guess, from my perspective, in that 4 or 5 years' time, once they've all got, 75 to 100 games under their belts, as do the class of last year, all of a sudden you've got Roby, Cumming, Smiley, Houghton, Lawler, and then you've still got players like Kane McAuliffe, Ross, Campbell, Taranto, Hopper. Like there's all of a sudden you've sort of got 10 midfield options that can go through there, rotating off half forward or wherever it might be. So I just think that makes a really strong midfield group, and it's almost like your second string is going to be equally as strong as your first string, and it could be difficult for teams to match up on when they're all fit and firing, which is an exciting prospect. I guess a few people will maybe question Sam Cumming over Sam Grill, and I understand that, and I don't think I would have any issue if Sam Grill was in Sam Cumming's spot. Obviously, Grill did test really, really well with the 20 metre and the 2K time trial. It's a super attractive set of numbers. I just feel like Sam Cumming is a bit more of a better, well-rounded footballer at this point in time. Does run quite well. He's got a good bit of toe as well. Can play half forward, play midfield. I just think he's got a bit more strings to his bow and a bit cleaner with his disposal at the moment. That's not to say that Sam Grill can't improve on that. And we may, as a club, rate different things highly or higher by Sam Grill that maybe put him higher up the order. And there's definitely a lot of people out there that would say they can't see us not taking Sam Grill, and I'm okay with that too. Like I said, I feel like we're in a win-win. I don't think there's a wrong choice. If you're picking between Roby, Cumming, and Grill, even chuck in Xavier Taylor, and even chuck in Dyson Sharp, I don't think you can go wrong no matter which of those players you pick as the 2 selections for us, which is great. And because it's so even, it's really hard to distinguish which one stands out above the other, and I feel like we're just really having to nitpick. And the club would have much better measuring metrics than what we do as supporters, of course. But it's just interesting to note that even Ry Geeshan says they got 10 or 15 names that they'd be happy with, and that's why I feel like we're in a bit of a win-win. I've got the Bombers then taking Dyson Sharp and Xavier Taylor. Again, look, Sharp, you can honestly see Sharp going anywhere above that as well, and I think West Coast or Richmond would be equally as happy. If he gets to Essendon, that's a huge win for them. And like I said before, they have been really into Xavier Taylor, I've led to believe. So I can see them going after him. And for the Ds at 7 and 8, I've gone Sam Grill and Josh Lindsay. Sam Grill will be a nice addition to their midfield. It would be for most teams, especially though with the loss of Petrarca and Oliver. They need to sort of start replenishing some of those stocks. I know Grill is a bit of a different player to what those two are, but it is going to complement someone like a Harvey Langford, for example, when he sort of starts to step up and get a bit more busy. And Josh Lindsay, like we sort of all spoke about, one of the better kicks in the draft, and would slot in on the half back line for the Ds at some point in the future. So that is my top 8, because that's the ones that probably impact us the most. As of today, like I said, it could very well change. And like I've got written there, I can see the Ds coming really hard for one of our picks. If it happens or not, don't know. As Blair has said, it would have to be a head-turning type of deal. But they could do it because they've got the collateral now to do so. And I guess we'll always be open to it. But let me know what you think of that top 8. Would you be happy with Sullivan, Roby and Sam coming? Or who would you rather out of that top 8? Or is there someone else outside of the top 8 that you would rather in those picks instead? Even if you're a West Coast, Essendon or Melbourne supporter, let me know as well what you think. It's going to be a fascinating lead up to the draft. And we've got plenty of draft content coming up. We've got Dylan Alexander coming on next week. We've got Jesse from True Footy / True Eagle on Tuesday next week, which will be awesome. And we're working on a few other little bits and pieces as well. So keep watching out for the lives. There'll be plenty of those to come. And make sure you like and subscribe for more Tiger content. And until the next one, go Tigers.